Welcome, everyone, to the first annual Free at Last speaker meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. My name is Lenny B. I'm an addict. Would you please silence the cell phones? Let's take a moment of silence to pray for the addict who still suffers, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. We've asked Mary to read Who's an Addict?
Hi, I'm Mary and I'm an addict. And so who's an addict? It's an echo, Lenny. Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or a woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death.
I've asked Dylan to read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program.
I'm Dylan, I'm an addict. NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership: the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We're not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We're not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups, and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We're not interested in what or how much you used, who your connections were, what you've done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
We've asked Krista to read why we're here.
I'm Krista and I'm an addict. Why are we here? Before coming to the fellowship of NA, we cannot manage our own lives. We cannot live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction, we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until, in desperation, we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffered from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible.
I've asked Corey to read how it works.
I'm an addict. My name is Corey. How it works. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. When we admitted, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This sounds like a big order. And we can't do it all at once. We didn't become addicted in one day, so remember, easy does it. There is one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. 3 of these that are indispensable are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. With these, we are well on our way. We feel that our approach to the disease of addiction is completely realistic, for the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. We feel that our way is practical, for one addict can best understand and help another addict. We believe that the sooner we face our problems within our society, in everyday living, just that much faster do we become acceptable, responsible, and productive members of that society. The only way to keep from returning to active addiction is not to take that first drug. If you are like us, you know that 1 is too many and 1,000 never enough. We put great emphasis on this, for we know that when we use drugs in any form or substitute one for another, we release our addiction all over again. Thinking of alcohol as different from other drugs has caused a great many addicts to relapse. Before we came to NA, many of us viewed alcohol separately, but we cannot afford to be confused about this. Alcohol is a drug. We are people with the disease of addiction who must abstain from all drugs in order to recover.
I've asked Steve to read the 12 traditions.
I'm an addict named Steve. We keep what we have only with vigilance, and just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12th step, so freedom from the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that will bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2, for a group purpose, there's but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6, an NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought to be never drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Understanding these traditions comes slowly over a period of time. We pick up information as we talk to members and visit various groups. It usually isn't until we get involved with service that someone points out to us that personal recovery depends on NA unity, and that unity depends on how well we follow our traditions. The 12 traditions of NA are not negotiable. They are the guidelines that keep our fellowship alive and free. By following these guidelines in our dealings with others and society at large, we avoid many problems. That is not to say that our traditions eliminate all problems. We still have to face difficulties as they arise. Communication problems, differences of opinion, internal controversies, and troubles with individuals and groups outside the fellowship. However, apply these principles, we avoid some of the pitfalls. Many of our problems are like those that our predecessors had to face. Their hard-won experience gave birth to the traditions, and our own experience has shown that these principles are just as valid today as they were when these traditions were formulated. Our traditions protect us from the internal and external forces that could destroy us. They are truly the ties that bind us together. It is only through understanding and application that they work.
I've asked Kyra to read We Do Recover.
Hi, I'm an addict named Kyra. We do recover. When at the end of the road we find that we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative: either go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proven itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
We will pass the basket for our seventh tradition, which states that every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contribution. 50% of your donation will go towards the annual speaker, and 50% will go to the donated to High Desert NA area. Please get well cards, if you have a get well card, in the basket, and we will have them available at the coffee table at the end of the speaker. So I'm going to tell you just a quick little 10-second shot. I know I belong here for one reason. An addict, I called the hotline of Chicago for 3 months every day. Because I said, hey man, I got to find this dude, I want to meet him. And that's why we're all here today, see? So from a direct result of me calling the NA hotline in Chicago, this gentleman is here for us today. But anyway, so Idaho, give this gentleman a warm welcome. This is Melvin L.
Oh, okay. Good evening, friend. My name is Melvin. I'm a recovering addict. Clean today only through God's amazing grace. I need to always thank God for sponsorship and thank God for the fellowship as well as the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Would you join me in a moment of silence so I can ask God to continue to direct my life? Thank you. Once again, family, my name is Melvin. I'm a recovering addict. I'm clean today only through God's amazing grace. I need to always thank God for sponsorship and thank God for the fellowship as well as the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Let me get this out the way. I done been a lot of places speaking, a lot of places. But the hospitality I've been shown since I've been here, I told Lenny that whenever y'all have an event, I don't care what's going on, I'm gonna make it my business to be down here. Him and his wife, I have been truly overwhelmed, ain't wanted for nothing. And I'm a recovering addict, couldn't get out the alley. You know, a lot of times I just sit down and cry because I'm so grateful. They tears of joy that I'm so grateful to where God has brought me from the way I'm at now. If you got any children here, I'm a person, this is just my belief. I don't use profanity by accident. You know, I believe that, you know, you hear people say, well, I have to curse to get my point across, or I have to curse so they can understand. And I got to curse so the message can be clear. But I don't see no profanity in here. And my clean date is February the 2nd, 1994. I've never been to detox. I've never been to treatment. And I'm not saying that to brag or boast. I'm just letting you know the program of Narcotics Anonymous works. I learned how to stay clean in an NA meeting. But God had something to do with it. My feet was frostbitten when I first got here. I couldn't walk, so he made sure I was able to sit still long enough to hear the message of recovery. Another thing is, I believe in the literature. And I come out of the literature a lot. So if you got a problem with the literature, it's probably a good time you can leave. Because, and what amazes me is, when you first get here and you got a bad case of untreated addiction, unaddressed character defects, and unresolved issues, and so quite naturally, you never know what you got until you have to use it. And if you ain't got nothing, you got to use what's ever available. And all I had was a thinking process that I come in here with. So at that time, when I got here in 1994, January 1994, a lot of people wished, according to my behavior, that I would leave. But God had other plans. But then when you stay here and you get better and you get a sponsor and you make a beginning on the steps and you start using the literature, then people say he think he know everything. He think he's Mr. NA, And the only thing amazes me about that, other than NA literature, what do you want me to read? Where do you want me to get recovery from if I don't get it from here? So, this is what I learned. That if you study NA literature and you done got better, if people is involved in NA, you don't have to explain nothing to them. But if you into the NA literature and you get better and people don't understand, then there's no explanation for them. So whenever I'm asked to speak, I always read the last paragraph of tradition 5, and it says, what is our message? The message that an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. Our message is hope and the promise of freedom. When all is said and done, our primary purpose can only be to carry a message to the addict who still suffers. And primary, by definition, means first. But if you read page 20, I got the 5th edition right here. So if you read page 20, when it talks about step 1, it says, our inability to stop using drugs, our inability to control our usage of drugs is a symptom of the disease of addiction. We are powerless not only over drugs, but over our addiction as well. We need to admit this fact in order to recover. Addiction is a physical, mental, and spiritual disease that affects every area of our lives. What is our message? The message that an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, physical, lose the desire to use, which is mental, and find a new way to live, which is spiritual. You need to know also, I told my sponsor, I said, look, man, I owned a house on 74th and Phillip. I was selling dope out of 2 apartments. I had 3 cars. He said, don't nobody want to hear that. He said, tell them about when you were staying, I used to say abandoned building. But abandoned by definition means unoccupied. So I know today I was staying in condemned buildings. He said, tell them about when you were staying in the condemned building, about when you were so funky you had your own flies. Tell them about when you had money but couldn't buy food. Tell them about when you had money but you was laying on the street. See, what I found out since I've been here is that the only difference between me and a homeless person, I sleep in the bed and he sleep on the ground, but he's still sleeping. I eat out the refrigerator, he eat out the garbage, or whenever somebody feed him, but he's still eating. I change clothes in my closet, he changes clothes whenever he can, but he's still changing clothes. So what's the real difference between me and somebody sleep on the street? The quality of life. So I need to ask myself, what quality of life do I want? Do I want a better life for myself? Do I want to take suggestions? Do I want to learn how to live with or without drugs? So that's what the literature said. It said we have to learn how to live with or without the drugs. I got to look at the life I had while I was using, but the life that was afforded to me since I stopped using. So I need to ask myself, what quality of life do I want? See, I'm not one of them people that believe I ain't still sick, and I don't say that. You hear people talking about, you know I'm still sick. No. This is about getting better. It's about getting better one day at a time. You don't learn nothing in this literature that tells you how to stay sick. Because the only thing two sick people can do is get sicker. And recovery and addiction, they're both progressive. Neither one of them stands still. So even though you're in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, you're either getting worse or you're getting better. It's just that simple. There's no great lines, no middle of the road here. So when you talk about you still sick, don't buy into that lie. We getting better one day at a time. This affords you the opportunity to get better. The only person that's still sick, the person that don't know where we at. See, this is what I talk about all the time. I talk about getting better, man. I tell a person that there's a better life in Narcotics Anonymous. It affords us an opportunity to get better. And look, this don't stop you from doing nothing. People think that this is boring, or because if you get a sponsor and make a beginning on the step, that this means you got to stop. You ain't got to stop doing nothing. Whatever you want to be or whatever you want to do, this don't do nothing but make you better. For a little over 25 years, look, I'm living a life that I thought was unimaginable. I'm having the time of my life. If God was any better than me, I don't think I can stand it. I'm telling you the truth. I couldn't get out the alley. See, and I don't know if you know what it means to have money and can't buy food. I don't know what if you know what it is to have money and can't change clothes. I'm talking about having money and staying in a condemned building. See, since I got here and got better, listen, if you using drugs or you using and you stay in a condemned building, you got more than a drug problem. If you using and can't change clothes, you got more than a drug problem. If you using and got money and won't buy food, you got more than a drug problem. Let's look at something. The reason I say that I'm a recovering addict, let's look at something. Let's look at the literature. Now, we're going to start with who's an addict. Now, who's an addict says, most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continual and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death. It say very simply. An addict is a person's life. My life ain't controlled by drugs today. And it also talks about, it says that we are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness. I told you addiction and recovery is both progressive. That means you're either getting worse or you're getting better. But let's look at what's the Narcotics Anonymous program. It say NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. I don't know if you heard me. It say NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. So the fellowship is forever changing, but the program remains the same. And you hear people say, well, ain't no difference between the program and the fellowship. You got people in the fellowship selling dope. That ain't a part of our program. You got people in the fellowship confused about prescription drugs and using. That's not a part of our program. You got people in the fellowship still using credit cards and writing bad checks. That's not a part of our program. You got people in here still stealing. That's not a part of our program. So there's a big difference between the fellowship and the program. Now, why are we here? It say after coming, not before. It say after coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffer from a disease from which there is no known cure. However, it can be arrested at some point and recovery is then possible. Now, if something is arrested, what's the first thing you want to know when you get arrested? When you going to get out? So that means that even though it's arrested, don't mean that it can't get back out. How long it's still arrested is up to you. You have the power to either keep it arrested or let it out. But it say after coming to NA. And check this out. It say most of us realized in our addiction we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. Right? Now let's look at how it works. This book is a little worn. It's 25 years old. This is the book somebody bought me when I first got clean. And I'm showing them how much I appreciate it because I still got it and I still use it. Now how it works, say, if you want what we had to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Look at the next words. Look at the next line. It say, these are the principles that made our recovery possible. So that means that if you want to help somebody recover, you got to have principles in your life. And the reason that you got to have principles in your life, because you're going to get the same results every time you apply them. But let's go back to Who's an Addict for a minute. Who's an Addict says, it's a one aspect of our addiction was our inability to deal with life on life terms. We tried drugs and a combination of drugs to cope with a seemingly hostile world. We dreamed of finding a magic formula that would solve our ultimate problem / ourselves. So now it says right here, right? And why are we here? It says after coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffer from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. So what Who's an Addict is letting us know, we got a major problem and an ultimate problem. The major problem is the drugs, but the ultimate problem is us. So after coming to NA, if we realized we were sick people, that means that when we put the dope down, that means that we suffer some type of illness. And what is the illness that I suffer from? The disease of addiction. So you deal with an illness 3 ways: medication, treatment, or therapy. But we talk about the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. So that means that we got the power to transmit something from one human being to the other. That means no matter how you feel when you come in here, we got the power to help you feel different when you leave. So if we're talking about the ultimate problem and the major problem, our major problem is the drug. Listen, don't you know being homeless is traumatizing? Eating out the garbage is traumatizing. Not being able to change clothes is traumatizing. Having your children took from you is traumatizing. Not being with your wife or your woman is traumatizing. Nobody don't want to have absolutely nothing to do with you is traumatizing. So after you put down the dope, how do you deal with the trauma? My sponsor said I come in here with 3 things: a bad case of untreated addiction, unaddressed character defects, and unresolved issues. That means if you deal with me right now and I'm new and you take me home, that means you're dealing with a person that's got some addiction that ain't been treated, some defects that ain't been addressed, and some issues that ain't been resolved. So how you think you're going to get something healthy out of me? You're looking for something you're not going to get. Let's look at something else. Let's look at the first step. Step 1 says, we admitted we was powerless over our addiction and that our lives have become unmanageable. There's the word again, addiction. We admitted we was powerless over our addiction and our lives have become unmanageable. My sponsor told me at first, let's look at the word admitted. He said, Melvin, why you think they want you to admit? Because no matter how bad I need the help, or no matter how bad somebody want me to get help, until I admit it, now I'm saying I'm ready for the help. This is why it's important that I admit it, because I'm saying now that I'm ready for the help. I'm ready for you people to help me with whatever problem I get. Because all we doing in here is an intervention. That's all we doing. All we doing in Narcotics Anonymous is an intervention. The word intervention means to come between. All we trying to do is come between you and your problem and see how we can help. That's why we don't care what you use, how much you use, where you got it from. It don't make us no different. If you're in here for sniffing seats, all we want to know is how can we help you? Because believe me, there's another seat sniffer in here. And we share experience, strength, and hope to help each other get better. And you being here to man, I ain't never sniffed no seat. And soon as you get outside, they say, welcome, brother. You know I sniff seats too. So my sponsor told me after admitted, he said, we admitted that we was powerless. He said, Melvin, let's look at the word powerless. Wherever you see the word L-E-S-S, that means without. Like if you homeless, that means you don't have a place to stay. If you penniless, that means you don't have an income. But the paradox of this word is, even though it means without, it means that which you can change. Because if you become a part of a program that helps you with housing, you're no longer homeless. If you get a job and create you an income, you're no longer penniless. So I asked my sponsor, I said, well, where I get the power from? He said, just hold on, I'll tell you. So the next word he told me to look at was addiction. We admitted we was powerless, so now we done talked about admitted, we talked about powerless. So then he said, let's look at addiction. I said, well, what's addiction? He said, addiction is a sick psychological or pathological reaction to anything with life-damaging consequences. He said, that's addiction, a sick psychological or pathological reaction to anything with life-damaging consequences. And it don't have to be the drug. What's your name, brother? Steve. So if I ask Steve right now to psychologically leave the room, y'all say, how you gonna do that? Whenever you hear the word psychic, all psychic means dealing with the mind. All logical means what make good sense to the mind or what make good sense. See, knowing your kid's hungry enough to faint, but instead of you buying food, you go buy a bag. That don't make good sense to the mind. That don't make good sense. Knowing that if you don't pay your rent, they gonna put you out in the street. So that means you trading the inside for the outside. That don't make good sense to the mind, and that don't make good sense. Knowing that your kids need some shoes, but instead of you buying shoes, you go buy drugs, that don't make good sense to the mind. That don't make good sense. So that means that when it comes to drugs and alcohol, that my thinking has been sharply affected. So I said psychological and pathological. If you ask me right now, say, Melvin, what you keep hitting yourself upside the head with that paper for? I say, I don't know. All pathological mean is repetition. All repetition mean to keep doing something over and over again, but can't explain why, like using. You know how people have their check, they say, when I get my check, ain't nowhere in the world I'm gonna do that again. And for a week or 2 weeks, you sincerely mean that. Them are your intentions. But then when you trade that check for some money, something happened. When you touch the money, your thinking process ain't the same no more. And I had to ask my sponsor, why would my sincere desire to do something different every time I get some money, all I could do was buy drugs? See? And addiction implies way more than just the use of drugs. But when I look at addiction as a psychological or pathological reaction to anything with life-damaging consequences, I had to look at how come every time I get some money, I couldn't do nothing with it but buy drugs. Even when people get their check, you got a whole week. Some people got a whole 2 weeks. Some people got a whole month to think about doing something different. But when you get that check, you still got the honest intention. But as soon as it turns into money, here I go again. So I had to ask my sponsor, why does that happen? And he said, Melvin, why don't we do this? Why don't we look at page 5? And page 5 say, like other incurable, look at that, like other incurable diseases. So incurable means what? I'm not going to be well, I'm not going to be recovered, and I'm not going to be cured. It means the only thing can happen, I can be recovering one day at a time. It say like other incurable diseases, addiction can be arrested. Arrested means locked up, put away, or under safekeeping, but it don't mean that it can't get back out. It said it can be arrested. We agree that there's nothing shameful about being an addict, and I need to know what kind I am. Today, I'm a recovering addict. Provided we accept our dilemma honestly. What's a dilemma? A dilemma is an unsatisfactory alternative. I couldn't stop using, and I couldn't deal with life. Today, I'm not in that dilemma. It says, accept our dilemma honestly. I'm a recovering addict. I can't have nothing. No near beer, root beer, close beer. I can't have nothing. So look, then it says, and take positive action. What's the positive action? Get a sponsor, make it begin on the 12 steps, make meeting and help somebody. It say take positive action. It say we were willing to admit without reservation. What's a reservation? Something hidden or concealed. Without reservation that we are allergic to drugs. Common sense tells us it would be insane to go back to the source of our allergy. What's an allergy? An unnatural reaction to a substance or a beverage once inside the human body. That's an allergy, an unnatural reaction to a substance or a beverage once inside the human body. What's the unnatural reaction? The compulsion, my inability to stop once I get started. That was good information for me. Now I found out why every time I got money I couldn't do nothing. Because the obsession. So what's an obsession? Obsession is a fixed idea that predicts, dictates, or controls one's life or behavior. That's an obsession, a fixed idea that predicts, dictates, or controls one's life or behavior. It says the ends are always the same, jails, institutions, or death. That means every time I got the money, the reason I did the same thing with it, because look, taking a bath is a good idea. Buying some clothes is a good idea. Getting off the street is a good idea, but we ain't talking about good ideas. We're talking about a fixed idea. And what makes a fixed idea so dangerous, it has the power to take over good ideas. Just like when somebody, Steve, sent me to the store with $20 and say, bring me my change, and I keep going with the $20. I want to bring his change back. It's a good idea. It makes sense to bring his change back. Because then he possibly will give me some more. But once he give me the money, I'm obsessed with using. I got to go spend your $20, Steve. I hope you understand. Because I'm gone. What's your name, sir? Vern. So Steve tell Vern, you know, Melvin just run off with my $20. And so Vern said, I can't give it. I know I can't give Melvin nothing. And then Vern tell, what's your name? Dustin. He tell Dustin. He said, Dustin Melvin ran off with Steve's 20. Now he ain't gonna give me nothing. You see how it go? It's a domino effect. And then when I find somebody else, what's your name? Krista. I said, Krista. I said, I go. She said, no, I heard what you did to Steve. And so what I found out is people don't stop loving us, but we teach them not to trust us. We teach people not to trust us. You know how you go to jail, you say, look, Mama, I ain't gonna do this no more. I swear to God, I ain't gonna do this no more. And then I go back to jail. I say, Mama, I know what I said the last time, but this time I joined church. It's gonna be different now. Then I go back to jail. I said, look, Mama, this time I got baptized. I know what I said the last time. I got baptized this time. And then I go back to jail. I said, Mama, I know what I said last time. I know I joined church. I got baptized. But look, this. She said, okay, clunk. Because we teach people not to trust us no more. But when we first get here, we think people don't love us. And so we be angry and we have resentments. But they don't stop loving us. They stop trusting us. And we have to gain their trust back by changing and showing them that they can trust us. My mama didn't trust me. She got tired of me. But when I got clean, every time she seen me, I was giving her something. And there's 6 of us. My brothers and sisters told my mama, don't trust him. I'm telling you, he up to something. But I kept going. And for 6 months, the lady downstairs say, it's a man down here named Melvin. He said, he your son. She said, I ain't got no son named Melvin. And I leave and I come back the next month. She said, man down here again. Say, he your son. She said, I ain't got no son named Melvin. And then after about 7 months, she said, got a man down here again. He said, your son. She said, send him up. And then I went up there. She sat me by the door. She said, look, you know you ain't going to be able to stay. Ain't nothing I can do for you. She said, I don't know why you keep coming back here. I said, Mom, I done went and got some help. And she said, well, I just wanted to see you, but you're going to have to leave. And so then I started coming back. I had a little job then. I started getting food stamps. I started leaving money in food stamps. I said, look, just get this to her. So you ain't got to tell her I was here. Just get this to her. And I come back the next month, give her a little money, get a food stamp. I said, look, you ain't got to tell her. Just get this to her. And then the third time I came back, she said, look, your mama said when you come, she want to see you. And I came upstairs. I said, look, I know you don't want to let me stay. I said, but I'm doing a little better. I got a job. I said, I don't want nothing. I said, I just want to see you. I'm going to leave. She said, no, you can sit down. And she fed me. And she said, now you got to go. And I left. And then I come back. She let me stay a little longer. Then she let me stay a little longer. Then she sent me to the store with her bank card. And my sister and brother told me, he got you where he wants you. Now he's going to take that card. And I brought it back, and with the receipt. And then she kept sending me with the bank card. Then one day she gave me her bank book. They said, you won't see him no more. But I was writing the check in the bank book like she told me. When he got the money, brought her bank book and brought the money back. And there's 6 of us. And then you know what happened? My mama sat down and she started crying. And she said, I never would have thought God would have you be the one to take care of me. See, that's how this program worked. And I showed her I was grateful because I never took a dime from her. And when my mother passed, I had 10 and a half years clean. And I wanted to go use then. I didn't want to stay here. But it was you people that came and stayed at my house the whole weekend. I went to a meeting on Friday and said, look, my mother passed. I don't want to stay here no more. I don't want to be in Narcotics Anonymous no more. They said, look, man, if you're grateful for what this program and God done did for you, then let your mama continue to see the person she seen when she passed. And they stayed at my house all weekend. And I said, man, it's about 2 o'clock. Ain't y'all finna leave? They said, no, we're going to stay right here with you. And they did. And they took me to a house of worship that Sunday. And that Sunday, the theme was somebody that lost a loved one. Ain't that something? So I know what God in this program can do, man. And I'm still clean. And that's why we need to support each other, because ain't nobody in the world like us. Nobody. Just the people sitting in here. Do you know if we all go use right now, we'll change the headlines? Yeah. It's a good thing we clean. Because you know what happens? When you use, first you fail yourself. Then you fail your family. Then you fail your neighborhood. And then you fail your community. When you stop using, you become better, your family becomes better, your neighborhood becomes better, and your community becomes better. Yeah. And miracles, you see miracles in here. You know what a miracle is? A miracle is a divine intervention into a human life which causes circumstances or condition to get better. That's a miracle, a divine intervention that causes conditions or circumstance in one's life to get better. And you know what? You hear people say, well, I don't believe in God, I can't see him. Show me the air in this room, you can't see that neither. But if the air leave, everything you can see gonna leave with it. So what's more important right now? What you can see or what you can't see? See, the reason they say this is a spiritual and not religious program, because religion tell you what you got to do for God to do something for you. Spirituality is your own relationship in whatever you believe. This is why this is a spiritual program. If I tell Steve right now, I say, Steve, you know what, I want to go get a bag. He said, Melvin, do you want to stay in a condemned building again? I can see that condemned building in my mind. He said, Melvin, if you go get a bag, do you want to be so funky you got your own flies again? I can see being funky and got my own flies in my mind. He said, Melvin, if you use, you're going to be eating out the garbage again. I can see eating out the garbage in my mind. So even though, like you hear the words this, that, and the, you can hear them, but you can't see them. Because words are in spirit form. Physically, you feed yourself with food, but you feed spirit with spirit. So Steve's words had a power to create an image in my mind, and that image is strong enough just for the day using ain't a good idea no more. That's why this is a spiritual program. Because we talk about for an hour about the consequences of using, and you can see the consequences in your mind. And those images had a power to change your mind before you leave here, and using ain't a good idea no more. That's why this is spiritual. Because we see something happen. See, you know what? Eyes believe they self. Ears believe other people. So you got to watch what people tell you around here. Because they'll poison you about somebody if you listen to it. So all you got to do in here, whatever your belief is, look at the results. Didn't nobody have clean clothes where I come from? Everybody's clothes was dirty, and we changed clothes in a condemned building. It didn't matter how they looked. If it looked better than what we had on, we put it on. You see people here with clean clothes. You seen them collecting money in that bucket. You didn't see none of that where I come from. If we put our money in a bucket, it was to get a bag out of it. That was the bathroom for a lot of us. When you stand in a condemned building, that's the bathroom. You take turns using the bucket. Yeah. So when I got here, man, the second step, look, you don't have to talk about your life being unmanageable. You got money, Melvin. Do you know the 3 basic instincts in life is food, clothing, and shelter? You messing with something powerful enough to not allow you to eat, don't allow you to clothe yourself, and don't allow you to put a roof over your head. What do I want with some more of that for? Them 3 basic instincts, that's intuitive, that's innate. Ain't nobody, look, don't nobody have to tell Steve he hungry. His body would tell him, I want something to eat. If it's cold outside, look, your body will tell you, no, put some clothes on and a coat. Yeah. It's natural instincts. You don't have to teach nobody that. If you ask somebody in here right now, would you rather be happy or you rather be sad? They would naturally tell you they'd rather be happy. That's just human nature. So I had to come to believe in a power that I couldn't see, but knowing it was the evidence of everything I did see. They say suggestions are free. You just pay for them when you don't take them. See, you can come out of a situation, but you can't get better till the situation come out of you. I was in a meeting I wasn't using, but y'all had to get the using out of me. Because if you didn't, I was going to go use again. I had to make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And it say, look, you can call it the program, you can call it the fellowship, or you can call it God. Because we surely can do together what can't none of us do alone. That means we ain't talking about using in here. We ain't talking about going and buy no bag. We talking about not just stopping, but learning you how to stay stopped. So I asked my sponsor when we got to the 3rd step, my sponsor say, tell me to pass you this book. I say, pass me that book. He say, I'm working on it. He said, tell me to pass you the book. I say, pass me that book. He said, it's a process. He said, tell me to pass you this book. I said, pass me the book. He got up and brought it to me. He said, long as you're talking about it's a process or you working on it, you're in the talking stage. He said, until you get up and apply some action, you're not going to see no results. So that 3rd step means implying action. Do you know the 4th step say make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves? It don't say make a searching and fearless honest inventory. Because honesty is your perception of the truth. A lot of us get honest depending on who in the room. But moral is the highest form of the truth. That's why they said searching and fearless moral inventory. Because by now, you should be able to accept some truth about yourself. See, I learned, it said, look, you dealing in the 4th step with your resentments, your fears, and your sex conduct. I hated my father. My father whipped me with iron cords, bats, and sticks. When I got here, I hated my father. When my father passed, I did not shed not one tear. I hated him. But my father was from Arkansas. He came to Chicago, but he brought his values with him. He thought he could whoop wrong out of me, but all it did was build up hatred and resentments. But I done had a son since I've been here, 21 years old. My son gets A's and B's. He's in his 2nd year of college, and I've never touched him. I've never put my hands on him. I broke the cycle with my son. Everything I wanted my father to be to me, everything I wanted my father to be to me, I've been to my son. Never touched him. He gets A's and B's, and I'm going to tell you why. Because God gave me the intelligence and the ability. Everything I need to deal with my son is inside of me. You ever went to get a job? It say help wanted, apply inside. That means if you want some help, you got to go on the inside, because this is from the inside out, not the outside in. But I found out, the fourth step allowed me to do something I never did in my life, to look at my side. Why did your father whoop you with iron cords, bats, and sticks? Because you was fighting your sisters and brothers, you wasn't going to school, you was stealing, you was gang banging. That's the only thing he knew to do. So since I've been clean, I wrote him a letter. Went to the gravesite and asked him to forgive me. And then I said, the Father I wanted you to be to me, I'm going to be to my son. My oldest son and my oldest daughter, when I got clean, my oldest son, he was fine with it. It took my oldest daughter 5 years to talk to me. My daughter would not talk to me. Every time I take son some money, I take her some. I said, tell your sister I want to talk to you. My son will come back. She don't want to talk to you. I told my sponsor, I said, look, man, I ain't finna keep trying to kiss her butt. She don't want to be bothered with me. I can live with it. He said, oh, no, don't go like that. He said, them feelings she got, you help cause them. So you're going to keep doing your part if she never speak to you. And so I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, I kept doing it. And then just like my mama, one day I went to leave her some money, and my son say, Kiana want to talk to you. And I took her to the restaurant. We sat down and ate. I said, however you feel, just let me know. She talked about me like a dirty dog. I started crying. She said, I don't want to see them tears. She said, that don't mean nothing to me. How long you think I've been crying? She said, how's I'm going to heal? And so I had to start the healing process trying to help her to heal. See, we got each other. Some of us got each other in different places of worship. But what about our parents? What about our children? What about the people we done hurt? What about the people we done scarred? So now me and my daughter is the best of friends. And the grandchildren. This is about healing. A lot of people don't like scars. But once you see scars, that means the pain and the suffering is over. But if you haven't learned from it, you can get you some more or something worse. So this is about a healing process, man. So I ain't got that much longer. Let me tell the women something right quick. And some of the men might not like it, but I got the courage to talk about the truth. See, listen. You women need to ask men a few questions in here. It's a real simple question. Ask a man, why do you like me? That's a very simple question. Why do you love me? That's a very simple question. If you ask him, he should know. What plans do you have for us? What plans do you have for my children? Ain't no stepchildren in here. The only person tell you got stepchildren if he intend to step away from his responsibility. Because when you accept the women, you accept the children. They spiritually yours. Because the father is who take care of them. And we all grown in here. Just ask them a simple question. What you want besides my coochie? Ask him, do he have a job? Do you have a job? You know why you need to ask him if he have a job? Because let me tell you 3 stages of a man. This is for men. From 1 to 15 is a man dependent years. That means that if a man 1 to 15, somebody washing his clothes, ironing his clothes, taking care of him, he ain't got no bills. They just want him to do good in school. From 16 to 21 is a man responsive years. From 16 to 21, we iron our own clothes. We start washing our own clothes. We don't want no more Payless. We don't want no Target. We don't want no Walmart. We want Jordans. We want to start dressing ourselves. So we learn the value of $1. From 21 to 30 is a man mature years. They say by the time a man get 30, he ought to be on the job that he's making out a career. He ought to be with the woman that's his wife or fiance, and he ought to be in the house that he's buying or have bought. So that means at 18, where was I at? I was in the penitentiary. So that means you stop your growth and development. So when you 18 and you in the penitentiary and you don't get out till you almost 26, then all you got is defense mechanisms and survival skills. That's all you learn in the penitentiary. Survival skills Is you listening to me? Survival skills and survival mechanism. You learn how to survive, and you got defense mechanisms. Because you got to take care of yourself when you're locked up. So you come on the street, you don't know nothing about coping skills and living skills. So that means that I didn't learn how to mature until I got here. Because I was gang banging, I done sold dope, then I started using, then I started going to jail, started going to penitentiary. So all I knew about was defense mechanism and survival skills. So when I got here, that's when I learned how to mature. So if a person, if you've been using from 1 to 15, or from 16 to 21, or from 21 to 30, you stop your growth and development. You got to learn how to mature now. Do you know your children know about your 4th step better than you do? Yeah. You bring a man home to your children and say, "Oh, children, this is Melvin." They say, "Yeah, how you doing?" Yeah. Because they want to know, is you going to be in my mama's life, or you going through her life, or you just stopping by her life? Because to be with a person in recovery, you got to learn how to do 6 things. My sponsor told me to be with a woman in recovery, you got to do 6 things. You got to love her beyond her defects, beyond her behavior, and beyond her mistakes. You got to commit, you got to sacrifice, and you got to be responsible. Well, why has I got to love her beyond her behavior? Because she's going to do some things you probably not going to like, but in order to be with her, you got to learn how to embrace her. Why has I got to love her beyond her defects? Because you're going to find out in steps 6 and 7, you don't have the power to change nobody but yourself. You want a good woman, be a good man. You want a truthful woman, be a truthful man. You want a respectful woman, be a respectful man. Why has I got to love her beyond her mistakes? Because we human beings, we have frailties and fallibilities. She allowed to make them by God, not by you. Why has I got to commit? Because no longer can you think like a single man. You got to think like a man with a woman with 3 kids. Why has I got to sacrifice? Because you might want a gold chain, but her kids might need some shoes. You might need to pay a bill. You might need to find out what's going on in the house. Why I got to be responsible? Because you're in Narcotics Anonymous. A good indication you don't know how. Because when you learn how to be responsible, then the root word to responsible is respond. You'll learn how to respond rather than react. Why do you think men hit women? Because they react with their feelings. And whenever you operate for your feelings, you're going to lose. Because when you get angry, you don't do 2 things. You don't look for the truth, and you don't use reasoning. When you learn how to respond, you're going to use the truth, and you're going to look for reasoning. And reasoning is not going to allow you to put your hands on it. I'm going to tell you something else about the men in here. You're not going to find no men nowhere on the planet Earth will accept you and your background like we do. You're not going to find it. Now you go, I tell you what, go in the house of worship and stand and tell them people your background, watch what's going to happen. You did what? You did what? And so the men in here deserve a hand too. You know what I'm saying? See, in my sponsor group, you can't go to my sponsor and talk about having 2 or 3 women. He ain't gonna listen to it. You can't call women bees. You can't call them garden tools. He's not gonna listen to it. He's been married to his wife over 30 years. So if you ain't talking about marriage or living principle or talking about respect or treating a woman like a woman, my sponsor ain't gonna listen to it. And he don't think he better. He just doing some better things with his life. And he taught me how to be a man, how to be a father to my son, to both of them, and my daughter. Taught me how to be a better human being. I don't argue with no woman. I ain't finna put my hands on one. I done been married since I've been here. And my woman cheated on me, and I was helping getting the plane tickets for her to go see dude. Didn't know it. And listen, I've been on American Most Wanted. They got DVDs out about me and the organization I was with. So I know how to act ignorant, and I know how to be negative. But see, God don't only change your life, he changed your heart. And then it's a mighty poor doctor can't take his own medicine, because I ain't no angel. But the blessing is I learned from it. And when I seen she wasn't going to leave dude alone, I just left. And I bought everything that was in the house. And her daughter was staying there with her daughter. But when I left, I ain't finna punish them children. I ain't finna punish her daughter. I'm a man. I'm gonna make it. I took one TV and one desk and I left. I got all that stuff back. See, when you cheat on somebody, you ain't really cheating on them. You're cheating on yourself. You know why a person cheat? Because of low self-esteem and low self-worth and insecurities. Ain't got nothing to do with the other person. You looking for something just like chasing dope. You looking for something you ain't gonna find because it's at home. You just ain't took the time to look for it. Let me show you something right quick, real simple. Hey, Destin, bring me that chair. That chair, yeah, bring me that chair. You come up here too. Watch this here. Hold this chair just like me. No, hold it with your two fingers just like I am. A relationship is not you or her. It's not you or her. It's what goes on between y'all. And when you leave a woman, you know what you do? You leave all the responsibility on her. So what you think is going to happen? Sooner or later, she's going to find somebody to help balance that. Okay. Yeah. She's not going to keep messing with you because you're not dependable. You keep coming back, but this is what you keep doing. And she keep taking all the weight. So what you think going to happen? Sooner or later, it's going to get too much for her to bear. So when somebody else comes along, it's not her fault, it's yours. Thank you. I had to learn all that since I've been here. I learned that since I've been here. I learned how to respect people since I've been here. I carried a gun in here for 2 years. My sponsor said, look, I can't sponsor you because you got your higher power confused. He said, your higher power is in your waistband. He said, I can't sponsor you like that. He said, if I knowed you had it, I wouldn't have sponsored you in the first place. You carrying a gun? No, man. So the only weapon I got now is God. I don't carry weapons no more. And you know what? I found since I don't carry one, I don't put myself in a position where I need it. So when the sex step, it deal, you know, the fourth step deal with your fears. I used to say, man, I ain't scared of nobody. Whatever happens, if it's 1 or 1,000, come on with it. My sponsor said, I'm not talking about that because you got healthy fears and unhealthy fears. See, when Ray Ray pulled up in the car, I knew the car wasn't his, but I got in it. Then when the police pull us over and give us both a car theft, now I go into a state of shock. You know he ain't bad about that car. And then when you get in there, the steering wheel pilt, you see a screwdriver in it, and you got it anyway. You know they don't sell cars with screwdrivers. They have keys. But I didn't have the courage to speak up for myself, to tell Ray Ray, man, I don't want to get no stolen car. So I had to accept the consequences. That's a form of fear. Going to jump on somebody ain't did nothing, absolutely nothing to do with me. Man, he done violated, man. One people, come on. And I go jump on somebody and had nothing to do with that, man. And then I go to jail and I go into a state of shock. You know this man ain't did nothing to you, but you allowing that person's feelings to become more important than yours, and you go along with it, knowing that the consequence, you going to jail. Same way we do in here. We go along with stuff because we allow that person's feelings to be more important than ours. Yeah, I don't like Steve, man. I don't like Steve, man. I don't like him. And then you say, well, Steve with Vaughn. Yeah, I don't like him neither. You let people poison your mind, man. Steve ain't did nothing to me. That's you and Steve's problem. You try to work that out. Because when we say we all we got, that's the truth. We all we got, man. Is each other. And it's about getting healthy, man. You know what I'm saying? It's about dispelling that myth and that information that you get. Look at me and Lenny. That's my brother. I love him. And when I go back to Chicago, I'm going to tell him how good he treats me. And I'm telling him I'm coming back here. I'm grateful that God, look, changed my mind, man. Got that stuff up out of me. That I live better and I feel better. I'm glad these principles done changed me, man. Made me a better person. I'm grateful that I don't disrespect women and children, man. Because what makes up a man is accountability and responsibility. When I first got here, I owed the IRS $27,000. I owed a student loan $32,000. I said, man, I ain't finna pay them people. Because recovery got 3 stages. It's good, you ain't using. It go from being good to real good. Now you working, getting a check, you buying clothes, you get you a girlfriend. So it go from being good, real good, and then it gets real. So where I was taking $700 home, now the student loan, the IRS, you know, Steve, now I'm taking $200 home. I said, oh no, this ain't worth it no more. I didn't have these many problems when I was using. But it's about being accountable and responsible. I just got a payment plan, now I don't owe neither one of them. See what I'm saying? That's why it's about perseverance, it's about enduring. I'm grateful for the life I got, man. I'm telling you, I'm ecstatic. And all you got to do is come in here, man, and just look. Just humble yourself and surrender. Because you know what? Ain't nothing in here been as hard as using. Ain't nothing in here been as hard as using. I asked my son the other day, I said, if I drop dead today, what would you remember about me? He said, Dad, you love me. I can depend on you. And whenever I needed you, you showed up. That's enough. I can leave today. You know what I'm saying? Because look, I teach my son 3 things. If I call my son right now and ask him what's the 3 most important things that you got to do every day, you know what he gonna say? Stay alive, stay out of jail, and stay drug-free. I told him that's the 3 things he got to do every day, because without that ain't nothing else gonna work. So you got to stay alive, stay out of jail, and stay drug-free. We got a lot of addicts in Chicago. We got a lot of recovering addicts dying, man. I don't know how many funerals I done been to. If you love somebody today, tell them you love them. Don't wait. Tell them you love them today. You know, tell somebody you love them now. You got flowers, give them to them while they living. They can smell them. You know what I mean? Go home. If you're in a relationship, look, man, just go home and try to make it better. Because I'm going to tell you something. At the end of the day, ain't nothing more important than family and being with somebody you love. Nothing more important than that. And when you hear people talking, I don't need nobody, man, I can be by, he's alive, she's alive. Everybody want to be with somebody, man. And when you got somebody you love, it makes life a whole lot better. Trust and believe that. And we make mistakes in here, man, but the good thing about a mistake, it can be corrected. If you don't like somebody, man, try to make it right and get past it, because you ain't got the energy and it ain't working. You know, I was going to meet, I can't stand so-and-so. They say, Steve in the meeting, yeah, I ain't going in there. How you going to get somebody that much power? My sponsor say, go hug him, and one day you'll mean it. And I kept doing it, man. I kept hugging him and kept hugging him and kept hugging him until I meant it. See, what separates us from the dope, the first step, we in here, the dope's out there. We in here, the dope's out there. We ain't got to go out there and get it. See, I found out in the first step that a man can't think no further than he can see, and a man can't see no further than he can think. All I could think about was using, so all I could see was a bag. See, I found out in the first step that all my feelings ain't a fact. I'm going to tell you why all your thoughts ain't the truth. I can think about robbing a bank all day. They're not going to do nothing to me. let me go in the bank and tell them what I'm thinking. I'm going to jail. So I know my thinkings ain't the truth. All my thinkings ain't the truth. All my feelings ain't a fact. Get on top of this building. If you think your feelings is a fact, get on top of this building and jump. Once you hit the concrete, it ain't have nothing to do with how you feel. So I know all my feelings will eventually pass. You hear people say, I feel like using. No, your feelings will eventually pass. So I know today, and because I think about drugs, I don't have to use it, because I can do something I couldn't do when I come in here. If I think about drugs today, I got the power, how long it stay up here, and what I do about it. I know I can change my mind, and I know I ain't got to act on it. That was a blessing for me, man. All this information that I learned. So she told me about 8:15, so I'm finna shut it down. It has been wonderful, but I always end like this. In this electrifying age, you have men as well as women racing into this life without complete knowledge of where they're going or what the ends will be. When riches seem to be the only pursuit to be obtained anyway and at any cost. When selfishness, avarice, greed, and lust dominates your very being, and when humanity in general is left at the mercy of those who have no mercy in them, like practicing addicts, then it is truly wonderful and astounding to see one come into this mad human drama for the sole purpose of saving humanity, losing sight on those things worldly and yielding absolutely to a cause higher than has ever yet been obtained. This is the purpose of Narcotics Anonymous, coming as it does to carry a message to the addict who still suffers. Don't worry about nobody gossiping about you. Don't worry about nobody talking about you. And don't worry about nobody pointing their finger at you. And let me tell you why. Because the opinion of people can't compare with the power of God. Thanks for letting me share. Oh, wait a minute. We got one more thing. In Chicago, every Monday, all the old timers, we dedicated ourselves to this group. It's called NA Live. We got members that come from about 5 or 6 different treatment centers. And we done dedicated ourselves that when we go to that meeting every Monday. So if you ever in Chicago on a Monday night from 6:30 to 8:30, NA Live, it's 37 South Ashland. It's on Monroe and Ashland. We dedicate it to the newcomer. Every Monday we do whatever we can to help the newcomer. And we do not let one leave without a book. Every Monday we give one a book. So Lenny has been gracious enough to get a book. So is anybody in here with 5 days or less? 10 days or less? Hey, look here, this is Donna, and what we're gonna do, Donna, and look, this is what I want you to do. You have to make us accountable, okay? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to call me, right? But listen, if you ain't got a phone,
Yeah, I do.
make somebody in here. See, I want to use your phone. I want to call the person in Chicago. Make us accountable, all right?
Okay.
And if I don't answer, I want you to tell everybody, all right? You're telling me. You're telling me. You got it? Look, no. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Listen, watch this here. What's your name? Chad. Watch this, Chad. You have to make us accountable. Is we going to make sure Chad get a book? Yeah. All right. Thank you.